Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com and by Jock Market. Go to jockmarket.com, use the promo code RosterWatch for a 100% deposit bonus match. And when you download the Jock Market app, that's Jock MKT. When you look for the app, super fun way to play fantasy football. That is a kind of like a stock market. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. That's jockmarket.com. Use promo code RosterWatch. Thanks so much to Jock Market for their support. I'm joined, of course, by Trashman. My name is Alex Dunlap. This is the RosterWatch Podcast, the Week 5 Waiver Wire edition of the podcast. We're also live on YouTube. Hello and good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're watching, to everybody out there checking it out. If you have questions, hit us up in the chat. And also, if you have questions through the course of the show about players that you should be dropping for some of these waiver wire pickups this week, in a pretty decent little week for the waiver wire, put them in the chat and I will take them down. And at the very end, we'll go over that with Trashman. Trashman, what the hell's going on, brother?
Just working off that ACL week 1 malaise.
Is there another week upcoming?
There is.
Who was the best act that you saw? And tell us one of your under the radar sneaky ones, and then tell us like the band that people will actually know that you thought.
I mean, Erykah Badu. That was the best show I saw.
All right.
Actually, what Duran put on a great show.
How could they not put on a great show?
It was just,
maybe because they're like 70 now. Are they like 70?
They are like 70, but they're going up against Tyler the Creator. Those were the co-headliners on Sunday night. And
imagine missing Duran to go see Tyler the Creator.
I mean, I prefer to listen to Tyler the Creator like in my car, but like Duran, they put on a show and they loved it. They looked like they loved it. They look like kids in a candy store.
Hey, people aren't here for this, Trashman, but I'm kind of curious. Who are you looking most forward to this next week? And tell us a big band. Don't tell us like the Silver Shakes or something that nobody's heard of.
Modest Mouse.
Okay, that's cool. And I think the Silver Shakes would be a cool name for a band, by the way.
You should start a new band, Alex.
Yeah.
It's about time.
No more bands. All right, let's get back to the waiver wire grind, which is something that I do love doing every week. Of course, Trashman is the overseer of the waiver wire cheat sheet at RosterWatch.com, and I'm just here to do sort of quality control with him as we talk it through. And let's just start with the running back spot. We have the news now that David Montgomery looks like he'll be out 3 to 5 weeks with a sprained MCL, so he avoids ACL disaster. But 3 to 5 weeks is golly, 3 to 5 weeks from now, we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving and stuff. It's right, or maybe not quite like that. I
don't talk about Thanksgiving until the day before Thanksgiving.
We'll definitely be talking about rifle season opening up for deer. We'll be talking about getting out in the woods. We'll be talking about all kinds of fall time stuff by the time that you are able to get David Montgomery back into your lineups. And so, I mean, this is going to be a substantial deal for people who happen to roster David Montgomery. And also, man, if you've been having trouble with your running back 2 or your running back 3 spot, Damian Williams looks awfully good. He did have a thigh contusion at the very end of this game where it looked like it was going to be both Montgomery and Damian Williams both hurt, to where we'd be talking about Khalil Herbert. I do think Khalil Herbert is still kind of interesting. I know, though, that you've always been such a Damian Williams truther, dating back to his college days, coming out of college. You've always said he's been underutilized. Do you still believe it? I mean, yes, I see you have him at the very top here of the cheat sheet, even though I don't see him as a guy that's going to change your season. I do think he could change the outlook of your roster for the next few weeks, though.
I mean, as a pass-catching back in an offense that is going to have trouble matriculating the ball down the field, I feel like Damian Williams is in a great spot. We've seen him produce, in a pinch in the past. We've seen him do really well for Kansas City, so I don't see why he couldn't do the same thing there for Chicago.
Do you like, whenever you think about Damian Williams' best years, do you think about them in Kansas City, or do you think about them in
Miami?
In Miami.
Do I think about anybody's best years in Miami? I mean, maybe Dan Marino.
Kenyon Drake had a few good games in Miami. All right, I wanted to look here just at the Bears. I'm looking at the snap counts, touches, and targets tool over at RosterWatch.com. Damian Williams, 33% of snaps so David Montgomery went out, so he played 62% of snaps. Of the remaining snaps, Khalil Herbert got 12%, Damian Williams got 33%. So this is probably, if we can base anything on what we saw in this game, we did see Khalil Herbert at the very end like to milk the game out, right? After Damian Williams had already gotten a little bit busted up and hurt, and it was a 2/3 to kind of 1/3 committee. I will say, man, Khalil Herbert, if you hung around with us in the preseason and you played any of the preseason DFS, Khalil Herbert's good. He's a well-rounded back that could end up doing something.
You going to play him this week?
No. No. But I mean, the Bears, I haven't done the matchup tool yet. Do you know, you probably don't even know who the Bears have this week, do you? I'll bet you don't. Let's see. Let's look at the NFL schedule for week 5. We should probably get the matchup tool done, Trashman, before we come on this.
Oh, the Bears play the Raiders.
That's, I mean, you saw what Austin Eckler did to these Raiders. I'm not sure that Khalil Herbert's an Austin Eckler, but yeah, I mean that's probably pretty good.
If you got a deep bench, I mean, maybe it,
yeah.
I just think there are better options right now.
Khalil Herbert's a little bit farther down the list than the others, but I think in deep leagues he's worth picking up and stashing just to see, especially if there could be anything that sort of swindles, Damian Williams with the fact that he was a little bit injured as well. Samaje Perine, also another guy that you have listed here. I think Samaje Perine sucks, and he's got another guy behind him in that Khalil Herbert mold in the new rookie of Chris Evans. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Mixon's unable to go if we see Chris Evans at least looked at in that role. Samaje Perine has just gotten so old, and he looks like, we've always said he looks like he's running around like he just got done crapping his pants. I mean, he's just not. He ain't it anymore. But we know that volume is king. Joe Mixon was getting so much volume.
We do know that Samaje Perine, can do okay in pass protection. I don't know if Chris Evans, how he's doing in that department. You might have a better idea.
I mean, I thought he was. We scouted him live. We went and saw him. I think he's pretty good in pass pro. I don't have any PF. That's the kind of thing. It's still early in the week. We'll have to go back and look and see if there's any PFF metrics or any of this stuff from Sports Info Solutions about how he's looked in pass pro, during the preseason, whenever we got to see a substantial, a good substantial sample of him. I wouldn't necessarily trust anything that we've seen from inside the 2021 season yet, but certainly I'll go look into that. I just think that, Chris Evans and Samaje Perine sort of the same as sort of like a little bit the same way that you would feel about Damian Williams as compared to Khalil Herbert, right? I think though the Damian Williams and Khalil Herbert piece,
I think Chris Evans is a little closer to Samaje Perine than Khalil Herbert to Damian Williams.
I think so too. It isn't a perfect analogy, and it isn't a perfect analogy because we're not going to hopefully, cross my fingers for a bunch of my fantasy teams. We're not going to see the extended absence out of Mixon. I don't think. I mean, they asked him this week and he said, this thing's more day to day than week to week. And now with Mixon, Jesus, think back to last year. Do you remember how that foot thing started?
Yeah.
I hope things don't go too sideways with Mixon again this year. Okay. And then, but I think the one most interesting piece is Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, Kenny Gainwell, man, he looks better than Miles Sanders.
He does look better than Miles Sanders. He's more versatile than Miles Sanders too. I don't know how he's going to hold up over time. I don't know if he could hold up as, a first 2 down back over time, but I think he's perfect in the situation he's in right now.
Kenny Gainwell weighs 201. I think he was 201 or 203. I mean, we've seen guys like Devontae Freeman and Trey Mason and stuff. These guys be 205 to 207, and they've been able to hold up. They seem a little bit squattier than Gamewell, though. I could be wrong. Yeah. Well, look, Gamewell's a baller. I mean, there's just been something about these Memphis guys. He's a really good player. So I think that let's just look, man. I mean, I know that he hasn't been getting the same. Let's see. He hasn't been getting the same volume that you would really hope none of the running backs have for Philly as it's been egregious the way that they've been using these guys. But here, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to buy time here as I pull up the tool. So let's just look at Gainwell. Last week we had 39% of snaps, but he had 8 targets last week. Only 9 touches, but 89 yards and a touchdown on 39% of snaps.
No, he's rendering Jalen Reagor useless.
In week 3, he had 4 targets. In week 2, Kenny Gainwell had 3 targets. In week 1, Kenny Gainwell had 3 targets. And he's been playing. He's basically just now ticking up to almost like he's ticking up to a 60-40 deal with Miles Sanders here. He's getting all the targets. This guy.
And I mean, I could see him getting continued run this week against the Panthers team that until last weekend was tough to move the ball against on the ground.
All right, so we have some questions in the chat. If you guys have questions about who to drop and stuff, we'll get to them at the end of the show. I guess right now, as we transition to some of the running backs that aren't quite as important to look at this week, as Gainwell, Damian Williams, Samaje Perine. We'll answer some of these. Josh Olson, what's up, brother? He asks, should I trade Stefan Diggs and Nick Chubb for Cooper Kupp and Zeke Elliott? I think I think that Stefan Diggs is set to explode, but I would rather have Zeke than Chubb. I think Kupp is probably a little bit overvalued right now.
If it's a PPR league,
I think I might rather have the Kupp and Zeke side of that thing.
If it's a PPR league, definitely.
Okay. Kipsy, what's up, brother? He says, I think Gamewell has a Sanders problem, not the other way around. It's probably true. Joseph Alera asks, can you guys go live the last hour Sundays for paid members? What do you mean? Oh, like go like this and answer questions? Maybe we could do something like that. We'll ask Byron and some of our other partners. That's something that we could add into the programming for at least maybe for 1 week and see if anybody likes it. Okay. Any other running backs that you just kind of want to hit on, Trashman, here on the sheet? Or, of course, go to RosterWatch.com. You can find the sheet. It'll be up here shortly. You can find Trashman's recommended free agent bud.
It was interesting. Stuff. It was interesting that Alex Collins got, I think, maybe 1 fewer touch than Chris Carson this past week. I'm not really sure why. There wasn't anything that, and that was intuitive about it, but it was interesting that he got almost as many touches as Chris Carson this past week. It's something to keep tabs on this week.
Here's this other comment asking, what's the deal with the Ravens backfield? Is Bell relevant? I mean, that's a good question. Like, is Le'Veon Bell, is he already owned enough to where he's not on? I mean, should he be on this? No. So
I mean, from what I saw this past week, I mean, it's Latavius Murray in that backfield. I mean, Tyson Williams was inactive. He was a healthy inactive. Well, I think
Le'Veon Bell needs to be on the sheet somewhere. So we'll get him down here in the same areas, the Chris Evans and the Khalil Herbert and stuff, because I personally thought that he didn't look that good, but he should be owned. I think you should probably try picking him up if he's available.
I mean, I think maybe down there with like Roddy Smith, Wayne Gallman.
You really hate Le'Veon that much? Our boy Minion Hunter is going to watch this and he's going to blow a gasket.
I just didn't see anything this past week that showed that Le'Veon Bell is going to be used as much. I mean, Roddy Smith had 5 receptions.
Yeah, but Christian McCaffrey's back next week. I mean, right? He's practicing in full. He said they're going to see where he's at on. We're going to
see where he's at. We don't know.
We're going to see where he's at on Wednesday. I feel about as good that Christian McCaffrey is going to be back next week that I do that Elijah Mitchell will be back.
And I don't know that they're going to keep using McCaffrey like they have been. I mean, haven't they learned that?
No, I mean, no one's ever going to learn. You don't understand, Trash Man. Whenever you get your hands on the levers of power like Christian McCaffrey can give you, you can't give it up.
I think people are going to see what the Cowboys are doing with Zeke and Tony Pollard.
Do you think fucking Matt Rule and Joe Brady are ever going to look at the Cowboys and say we're going to try to do shit like they do
after they just beat their behinds this past week? Then maybe so.
That's probably true. Okay, if Latavius Murray was available in your league, apologies to Minion Hunter, who's going to say that who's a giant Ravens fan who said that he tweeted us and said, Did you see the way that Harbaugh just slapped him on the ass and smiled at him? Just like, man, I was like, Minion, you need an intervention about this Le'Veon Bell stuff with this whole butt slap theory here. But dude, I think that what makes sense is this is Latavius Murray's job, and so if he's available and it feels like he could maybe ascend to being,
Latavius Murray's maybe available in 15% of leagues.
Is he? I'll bet he's available in more than that. Maybe not. Maybe he's just always been picked up anywhere. If he was available, he would. I mean, how much of your free agent budget would you dedicate to him? Would you go monster like 70% or something?
70% seems a bit much.
Okay, 50.
Depends on what kind of straights I'm in. Yeah. Well, no, I guess Latavius Murray, he's available in probably half of leagues.
He's available in half of leagues, so he needs to be on the sheet.
Well,
less than 55% owned is the sheet, right?
Right. So
we need to give him his own tier. So let's talk about Latavius. 35, 40.
I'd say 35 is more reasonable to me.
If
you're as bullish as you, I don't know how you can be bullish on Le'Veon Bell and also
I'm not bullish on Le'Veon Bell. I'm not. I feel like he should be rostered though.
Okay.
He could not be as washed as he looked last year, but he looked washed last year. He looked washed in this game. I don't know.
You put maybe as much as 40% on Latavius Murray, considering how much they run the ball.
Yeah. Okay. So I will get that. I'll get that updated here on your sheet before you can go over some of these wide receivers as I'm doing it. But first, I need to tell you guys who are watching on YouTube and listening on the podcast to stop throwing your money away. It's time to check out Jock Market, the app where daily fantasy becomes a stock exchange. Buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money. At the end of the night, all shares have a guaranteed payout based on fantasy point scoring. You can buy and hold, you can wheel and deal, you can even short shares of players you feel are overvalued. Download now for 100% deposit match up to $50 using promo code RosterWatch. It's not about setting a whole lineup, just trade shares of players you like. At the end of the night, all shares pay out based on player performance. And get this, if you don't turn a profit this week, Jock Market, jockmkt.com will cover your losses in your very first event. Trade in the stock market where you understand the assets. Download the Jock Market app in the Play stores or in the Apple app, or you just check out jockmkt.com. Use promo code RosterWatch for 100% deposit match up to $50 on your first deposit. That's jockmkt.com, jockmkt.com. Terms and conditions apply. Make sure to use promo code RosterWatch. Okay, so Trashman, talk about some of these wide receivers. Any that you're super duper bullish on? It doesn't feel. I was kind of surprised that you didn't put AJ Green in a tier sort of his own, since you're such a trashy individual and that dude's been getting you. He looks like the wide receiver too for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals is a high-powered offense. I mean,
it just seems that like on a weekly basis, it could be AJ Green, or it could be Christian Kirk, or it could be Moore, who's getting those targets. I mean, Green has been fairly consistent, but I feel like there's just enough variability that he's not quite in that tier by himself. Do you disagree?
I think that I mean, what has he been? He's averaging 6 targets a game. You know, it's been, and if you just look at the game by game, I think he hasn't had less than 5 in a game, has he? So no, I'm not sure.
He's had 6 targets in every game.
It's pretty good in a Kyler Murray offense. I think maybe he should go up one fab tier from where you have him, up to the next tier. I think AJ Green should.
I mean, if that's the case, then you could. I feel like you can make the same case for like a Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is actually averaging more targets per game.
Well, but he's such a low ADOT guy, and I don't consider.
If you look at their stats over the first 4 weeks, they're averaging nearly the same amount of fantasy points.
Look, I think maybe what you've done here, Trashman, is you've done a smart thing, and you've a little bit lowballed the bid, because I don't think people are going to come in with a 20% bid for AJ Green. I don't think they're going to come in with anything that much higher than 10. So maybe you're right. It's probably not the play that you want to spend a whole lot. I mean, he's the profile player that could turn right back into a pumpkin. And Hunter Renfrow, Jesus, trash man. I mean, you're bigger than Hunter Renfrow.
The thing is, Derek Carr said going into the season, he said Hunter Renfrow is the best player on the team, and I feel like he loves him. And if you just look at his targets and what he's doing per game, he's right there with AJ Green.
Okay. That's fine. So let's just leave him in the same area. I think it's fine. What do you like Darnold Mooney better than Hunter Renfrow? Just with this game he had last week. I was the guy that
Darnold Mooney is the leading receiver on the Bears right now.
Well, that didn't say him much. Boy, man, me and I sure look stupid for the arguments that I got into with Byron this preseason about Allen Robinson. Byron said he's a wide receiver 2 that masquerades as a wide receiver 1.
Well, the thing is, he's the best player on the team. And
Darnell Mooney?
No, Allen Robinson. And in defenses treat him as such. So they give him all the attention. Mooney gets open. And I just don't feel that either Dalton or Justin Fields at this point in his career are savvy enough to force the ball to Allen Robinson and get it to him with any consistency and the kind of coverage that Allen Robinson is seeing right now on a consistent basis. All
right. What about it? And people can go, they can look at the rest of these wide receivers on the cheat sheet, but what if for some reason somebody dropped Laviska Shenault and now DJ Chark's out? What kind of bid are you putting in on him if you're a wide receiver needy team?
Maybe a little higher than you could in AJ Green.
Would you go up to 20%? I would.
I could maybe go up to 20%.
Trashman hates spending money. Look at that. Look at the pain on his face.
No, it's just that Marvin Jones is still there. I think Marvin Jones is still arguably the number 1 receiver on that team.
Okay, cool. All right, talk about tight ends and defenses, and I'm going to ask you some of these questions from the chat. Just quick. Clearly.
Dawson Knox is playing out of his mind right now.
So is Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz is being targeted in the end zone quite a bit. The thing is, with Dallas, there's so many weapons on that offense. Like, I could see Schultz not being as consistent as maybe Dawson Knox is being right now. And Dawson Knox, he's a top 5 tight end right now.
Okay. And then the defenses, any sneaky ones you're looking to pick up?
The Cowboys. Quinn he's doing some with that defense. He's a better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach, it seems like.
Trayvon is such a beast. He's had at least an interception in each game. What a talk about he's a CB1.
Hey, he's a fingertip away from them being undefeated this season.
Yeah, man. All right, so here we go, Trash Man. Of course, you can find all this stuff at RosterWatch.com. We have the snap counts, touches, and targets up, the waiver wire cheat sheet, touchdown dependency, matchup tool will be up either later today or tomorrow, the DFS cheat sheets, Trash Man's flex rankings. You can get it all with a pro membership at RosterWatch.com. That's a great way to help us out. And another great way to help us out, if you're watching this, please, guys, give us some likes and stuff, or just post a comment, say Trash Man sucks or something. Or Alex's hat looks stupid. It helps with the algorithm and helps other people to find the show. So we do appreciate that. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please give us a like there.
Say Trash Man is magnanimous.
Whatever. Magnificent. I don't even know what magnanimous means. What does it mean?
Someone who puts people in good positions and is generous in their.
Oh yeah, that's Trash Man.
I am generous.
All right, Mr.
Generous with love.
Okay, Mr. Generosity. Do you drop Tyson Williams?
Yes, if you can get like a Kenneth Gainwell.
Do you drop Somebody's saying they've been holding on to Marlon Mack, hoping he gets picked up by some other dirtball
I mean,
team.
they gave Marlon Mack a run to show what he's got so they can try to trade him, and he did little to nothing with it. I mean,
I pulled the same maneuver, and I'm probably gonna be attempting to get him off my team whenever waivers run tonight. I think he's probably gonna be the first guy, the easiest guy for me to cut in a pretty competitive 12-team league. So I think you're fine to cut ties. Kip C, man, our friend Kip C wants to ask a tough question. What about Rondale Moore? Is he still a stash?
Of course.
I believe it. Yeah, Rondale Moore definitely stays a stash for sure. What about Justin Jackson? Would you drop him for any of these other guys?
I might. I mean, I'd drop him for any of the top 4.
Okay. Any of the top 4 running backs, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay. The top 4 running backs on the waiver wire cheat sheet over at RosterWatch.com. What about any of the Houston running backs?
Can they be dropped, or are we trying to get them? What do you?
No. Can you drop them for Damian Williams, Kenny Gainwell, or Samaj P. Ryan?
Yeah, if you need to win this week, absolutely.
How about somebody asked about Gabriel Davis, who's gotten a grand total of 7 targets this season?
They want to know if they can drop him?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. How about there are a few others on here. What about your boy Darius Slayton? He's injured. Can he be dropped?
I wouldn't drop him just yet.
You wouldn't?
Darius Slayton. I mean, it depends on who. It depends on for who. If you can get an AJ Green, if you can get anybody down on that waiver sheet down to maybe a Rashad Bateman or a T.Y. Hilton.
Is KJ Osborne droppable now? He was a hot pickup to start.
I think he got like 7 targets this past week.
John Ryan's asking, so no, you don't drop him?
I mean, again, it depends on who it's for. If you can get an AJ Green, if you can get a Darnold Mooney, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Parker, then yeah, you can drop him.
Somebody's asking about Roundtree or Justin Jackson as a handcuff pickup for Eckler. Justin Jackson is going to be worth more if Eckler goes down, I think, just because of his what he'll bring in the receiving game. But Roundtree has better standalone value. They use Roundtree down at the goal line, even when Eckler's healthy. I
mean, and if it's a dynasty or keeper league, I think Roundtree is the guy.
Minion Hunter. Minion, what's going on, brother? Sorry you missed the Le'Veon Bell section. You're going to need to listen back and hear Trashman. Hear Trashman in his disparaging words about your golden son.
What?
Le'Veon.
What did I say?
Le'Veon. Minion can go back and listen. But he's asking Pitts for Max Williams. Are we talking Kyle Pitts, the GOAT, for Max Williams? Not even a trash man would think. I mean, you want Pitts. If you can get Pitts for some kind of Max Williams, please go out and do something like that. My God. Pitts is running all the routes. He's getting the targets. He's doing all kinds of stuff. I see Fran the man won. He traded Thielen, Logan Thomas, and Aaron Rodgers for Hawkinson and Josh Allen. He had – I don't even know. This is a pretty cockamamie question here. PPR, did I win? I don't know. He traded Logan Thomas, Aaron Rodgers, and Hawkinson for –
and Thielen. I'm
not sure you won. I'm not in – hey, write into Byron and ask him for the trade cast. info@rosterwatch.com. Say question for Byron for the trade cast. Okay. Let's see. And then I just had a few others here. KJ Osborne, you can't drop him, you're saying. What about Dyami Brown?
Can you drop Dyami Brown?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you can. Especially now that Curtis Samuel's back. Can you drop – hey, how about this? This is a good question. Can you drop Kenyon Drake? I don't think I do just yet.
Would you drop him for a Kenneth Gainwell?
I might. I feel like they're both kind of – we've seen now the Kenyon Drake doesn't really pick up that much value when Josh Jacobs is hurt.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's tough. But Carlos Hyde, do you need to keep on hanging on to him?
No.
Nelson Aguilar,
I mean, honestly, he had the same amount of targets as Kendrick Bourne. I think they both had 5 targets and 55 yards. I think both of them this past week. I mean, Bourne looks like he's getting more and more involved in the offense. Aguilera, if you can get someone like an AJ Green, Devontae Parker, Darnell Mooney, then I could drop a.
All right, Trash Man. Last one. I say the toughest one for last because I know this is a trashy man that you just love. You love to death. But is it finally time? Can you finally drop Russell Gage?
He was still on your team?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could drop Russell Gage. Cordell